I can bet my life savings that the Krusty Krab could snag a Michelin star and make insane money in the real world. Crazy, right? But think about it. Mr. Krabs' underwater burger joint is a cultural phenomenon, a hub of chaos, and maybe, just maybe, a fast food empire in disguise. But, do you keep thinking about how much money Mr. Krabs makes from this beloved restaurant? Or is it just me? Well, I was so hooked to this question, I spent 4 working days trying to figure it out, and I'm gonna share my findings with you now. And boy, this restaurant can give a tough competition to McDonald's if it existed in the real world. Let's start with what we exactly know about the Krusty Krab. It's a burger joint, which appears to be the beating heart of Bikini Bottom's food scene. And let's not forget, the Krabby Patty isn't just food, it's a cultural icon. From $1.25 to $2.99, the prices vary as much as SpongeBob's laugh. But for this analysis, let's stick to the high end, $2.99. After all, Mr. Krabs is no stranger to squeezing every penny he can from his loyal customers. Now, imagine walking into the Krusty Krab on a regular day. The place is packed, tables are full, Bikini Bottomites are chatting away, and SpongeBob is practically a blur behind the grill. With 20 tables and an endless stream of hungry patrons, it's easy to assume 180 customers a day. Well, I wonder if Bikini Bottom residents don't have much else going on besides eating burgers and watching SpongeBob's antics. If we estimate 180 customers daily and the Krusty Krab is open 6 days a week, that's 1,080 patrons every week. Multiply that by 52 weeks and you've got 56,160 loyal customers annually. At $2.99 per meal, we're looking at over $167,000 in gross revenue. But we're just getting started. Labor costs are hilariously low. SpongeBob and Squidward probably make less combined than you'd spend on a deluxe combo. In real life, Liberia is one of the most popular countries for flagging ships in international waters because of its extremely lenient labor laws and low registration fees. This loophole allows businesses to operate under Liberian regulations while functioning in a completely different location. But what is its connection with the Krusty Krab? Well, this restaurant isn't just a landlocked building. It's technically a vessel in international waters, giving Mr. Krabs free rein to choose any flag to register under. Many of you were asking about Liberia's flag theory in the Squidward's Income Videos comment section, so here are the details. By choosing Liberia's flag, Mr. Krabs can bypass Bikini Bottom's local labor laws and instead adhere to Liberia's minimum wage requirements. Liberia's current minimum wage for domestic workers is 15 Liberian dollars per day, which converts to approximately 31 cents USD. This means that SpongeBob and Squidward, if paid under these laws, might each receive 31 cents per day, or $2.17 per week, since the Krusty Krab operates 6 days a week. Over a year, that's about $113.15 per employee, making the total labor cost a mere $226.30 annually for the restaurant. Compare that to the US federal minimum wage of $7.25 per hour, and it's clear Mr. Krabs is saving a fortune. But how do we justify this theory within the SpongeBob universe? For one, the show often portrays Bikini Bottom as a chaotic place where normal rules don't apply. Add to that Mr. Krabs' penny-pinching personality, and his willingness to exploit loopholes, and it's not far-fetched to believe he'd opt for a legal system that maximizes his profit margins. This clever use of maritime law, combined with SpongeBob's enthusiasm for working and Squidward's begrudging tolerance of his job, makes the Krusty Krab's labor costs almost laughably low. Just one more way Mr. Krabs stays ahead of the competition. Of course, there are other costs to consider: ingredients, utilities, and the occasional stolen formula crisis. But Mr. Krabs is a master of cutting corners. I mean, the Krusty Krab's customer policies mentions that napkins aren't free. Yeah, that is a business philosophy. Factor in the 10% small business tax and you'd think it would make a dent, but no. But again, the Krusty Krab doesn't just sell food, it sells an experience. People come for the Krabby Patties, sure, but they stay for the chaos. SpongeBob singing, Squidward's snark, and the occasional plankton invasion. Mr. Krabs might not spend on fancy decor or marketing, but he knows how to keep the money flowing. And with numbers like these, you start to see why Plankton is so obsessed with stealing the secret formula. But what's the actual profit here? Alright, let's put on our accountant hats and figure out just how much dough the Krusty Krab is pulling in. I've already mentioned the restaurant's daily flow of 180 customers, and he is making over $167,000 annually. But the real magic happens when you see the entire menu. There are items like coral bits, kelp shakes, well, I would love to try this shake, and the golden loaf with sauce, each priced anywhere from $1.50 to $4. If the average customer orders one side or drink with their Krabby Patty, we can conservatively add another $2 per customer to the equation. That's an extra $112,320 a year, bringing the total revenue to around $279,000. Now, consider seasonal surges. Episodes like Krusty Krab training video show the restaurant attracting massive crowds during specific promotions. If we factor in an occasional 10% boost during peak months, that's another $27,900 added to the yearly earnings, pushing the revenue closer to $306,900. But what about delivery and takeout? In pizza delivery, we see the Krusty Krab offering pizzas, suggesting they've diversified their revenue streams. If delivery makes up even 20% of total sales, that's another $55,800 annually. The grand total, the Krusty Krab is likely making close to $362,700 a year in gross revenue. And at one point, he turned the Krusty Krab into Krusty Towers, a 17-story hotel he hoped would print money faster than SpongeBob flips patties. Inspired by a fancy hotel that charged $25 for a single hamburger, Mr. Krabs envisioned a new revenue stream: luxury service with sky-high prices. The plan was to cater to every ridiculous request from guests, no matter the cost, with room rates and fees for services like changing room scenery or delivering poolside snacks. The potential profits seemed limitless, but in true Bikini Bottom fashion, chaos struck. Over-the-top demands, mismanagement, and a disastrous cannonball into an indoor pool sent the entire tower crumbling. If this business plan would have worked, Mr. Krabs could have easily started earning at least an extra $1 million annually. But revenue is only part of the story. What happens when we subtract costs and dive into the profit margin? Obviously, there are employee wages, and I've already covered that Mr. Krabs likely exploits international labor loopholes, potentially paying SpongeBob and Squidward in Liberian currency, or worse, play money, as seen in the one-course meal episode. If we take the theory that SpongeBob and Squidward earn a combined $226.30 a year, that's practically free labor. For comparison, even minimum wage employees on land make more flipping burgers in a week. Mr. Krabs doesn't just cut corners, he eliminates them. Next, we have the raw materials. While we don't know the exact formula, we can assume the ingredients are relatively inexpensive. It's fast food after all. A typical burger on land has a food cost of 30 to 35% of its selling price. Using our previous estimates, we can assume that Mr. Krabs makes $126,945 a year. The Krusty Krab doesn't just run on SpongeBob's optimism. It has real costs to keep its grill sizzling. Imagine the power bills from all those fryers and grills running 6 days a week. Add in the water for cleaning or SpongeBob's overzealous scrubbing sessions, and you've got utilities costing about $1,000 a month, or $12,000 a year. And then there's maintenance. With Plankton constantly trying to breach the premises, equipment repairs are a given. Let's say that's another $10,000 annually. But taxes? Oh, here's where Mr. Krabs really shines. As the sole proprietor, Mr. Krabs is likely subject to a 10% tax on his earnings. If the Krusty Krab makes around $362,700 annually, taxes come out to $36,270. However, Mr. Krabs is a known expert in finding loopholes. Between Bikini Bottom's lack regulations and his willingness to bribe officials with free food, it's safe to assume his actual tax burden is far less. But what about marketing expenses? Virtually non-existent. Mr. Krabs doesn't believe in splurging on flashy campaigns. In As Seen on TV, his idea of advertising was a low-budget commercial aired at 3:28 a.m. For the sake of argument, let's say he spends $500 a year on marketing, mostly for newspaper ads printed in microscopic text. And now, this is where things get uniquely bikini bottom. From the $5 complaint fee in the Gary's Got Legs episode, to the standing fee charged if a customer does not order anything in the Krusty Krab training video episode. Mr. Krabs sure knows how to turn everyday scenarios into revenue streams. These quirky practices might cover unexpected costs, like plankton-proofing the place. Adding it all up, we're looking at labor $226.30, ingredients $126,945, utilities, maintenance $22,000, taxes around $36,270, advertising $500, miscellaneous, let's ballpark it at $5,000. That gives us a total annual cost of approximately $190,941.30. With revenue estimated at $362,700 annually, this leaves a tidy net profit of $171,758.70. Now, I know these numbers are not that impressive, but we haven't yet accounted for the controversies that come with his business practices. I mean, the Krabby Patties could be serving as the front for the other shady products. Given the fact that Mr. Krabs could do anything just for the sake of money, he might be selling drugs hidden in Krabby Patties. Why else would people be so hooked to the Krabby Patties? If it were true, he could be earning at least $1 million annually. Plus, there's the idea that the Krusty Krab charges exorbitant fees for special menu items or late-night services. The Krabby Patty may cost $2.99 on paper, but what if secret menu items are priced at $20 or more? If even 10% of customers splurge on premium offerings, that's another $112,000 annually in hidden revenue. And let's not forget investments. If Mr. Krabs has been stashing his millions into low-risk investments like the S&P 500, even a conservative estimate of a 7% annual return on $10 million would generate an additional $700,000 a year. These hidden streams of revenue, combined with his savvy business practices, could easily push his annual income closer to $2 million. And it doesn't stop here. We've always assumed Mr. Krabs fiercely protects the Krabby Patty formula to keep plankton at bay. But what if it's all an act? I have discussed this theory in detail in my video about plankton's income, but I have a different theory this time. If we were to believe that Mr. Krabs and plankton are actually secret partners, there is also a possibility that Mr. Krabs has been licensing the formula to outside entities under the table. This means he's probably selling his secret recipe to foreign fast food chains or private collectors willing to pay top dollar. If each licensing deal brought in even a modest $5 million and he brokered a dozen such deals a year, that's a cool $60 million added to his bank account annually. But what if the Krusty Krab existed in the real world? Where would it fall in the hierarchy of food industry giants? Surprisingly, its business model shares traits with some of the most successful chains on land. At its core, the Krusty Krab is the king of Bikini Bottom when it comes to selling burgers, much like McDonald's dominates on land. With a signature menu item, the Krabby Patty mirroring the Big Mac, and Mr. Krabs' relentless focus on cost-cutting, the parallels are undeniable. And if Mr. Krabs starts selling out franchises of his restaurant, he could start making at least $100 million in royalties. But unlike McDonald's, the Krusty Krab also carries an air of exclusivity. So it's more akin to gourmet burger joints like Shake Shack or Five Guys. The intimate, diner-like setting, combined with high prices, positions the Krusty Krab as a hybrid of fast food and upscale dining, which is a strategy that's proven profitable for real-world businesses catering to niche audiences. I guess the curious case of the Krusty Krab's income has been cracked for now. Mr. Krabs is either an entrepreneurial genius, a borderline monopolist, or a little bit of both. But one thing's for sure, the man knows how to turn a profit. Now, if the Krusty Krab's finances blew your mind, wait until you hear about the income of Mrs. Puff. What secrets lie beneath her boating school's business model? Click on the on-screen video to find out.